T-minus 3 hours before the very first polls to close begin to shut their doors. We're talking about Kentucky and Indiana. By this time tomorrow, of course, we'll have the results, although it depends on very close races. What might happen? It may take a couple of weeks to recheck some of the numbers. But right now, we here at Countdown, as I said, are calling it Toss-Up Nation. And there's a new variable that could play this major role in stymieing voter turnout. On your screen is the weather. Take a look at the live radar map. It's showing rain spanning from the Midwest all the way to the Northeast across the southern portion of the nation. Severe storms and get this, even tornado warnings could impact voters heading to the polls across the country in these key Senate races at this hour. Florida, Indiana, Missouri, Arizona, Nevada, and Montana. Races that could change the balance of power in Congress. Now, Democrats, as you know, need to flip 2 seats for party control of the Senate. But while pundits across the nation guess wildly, our next 2 guests have actually been there. As I said, both are former U.S. senators and governors of 2 key battleground states, Republican George Allen of Virginia and Democrat Evan Bayh of Indiana. Great to have you, gentlemen. Rules of the game. To any question, you can't say toss-up. I want to go to to Virginia first. And this race in Congress between Dave Brat, who is the incumbent, and Bret Baier said yesterday, the giant killer. He had taken down Eric Cantor, the Republican who had held the seat, but now he's being challenged by Abigail Spanberger. Tell me what you think, Governor, and how you see this one playing out.
Well, this could be a close race. There is some residual animosity from him knocking out Eric Cantor, who is Republican leader. But I think in the 7th district, part of which I once represented many years ago, they see that the jobs are doing great. Unemployment rates are low for African Americans, for Latinos, for all people, and they see manufacturing increasing. And there's a lot of positive sense, and I think that that is going to bode very well for Dave Brat. And I think it'll be close, but I think he'll win. Okay,
Governor Bayh, yes or no? You agree?
I'd defer to George's judgment on that. He knows the district way better than I do. The only thing I would say, Liz, is everything George just said about the economy is right, but it doesn't tend to matter to voters quite as much when it's good as it does when it's bad.
Well, so the news business isn't the only business that gets accused of focusing on the bad. All right, Governor Bayh, your stomping grounds, Indiana. How do you predict this tight race for Senate between incumbent Democrat Joe Donnelly and Republican challenger Mike Braun will end?
Well, it's close, Liz. The last 2 polls, including a Fox News poll, had Joe Donnelly ahead. Braun had been a little ahead before that after the Kavanaugh hearings, but it looks like Donnelly may have come on. So here's what I would anticipate. Donnelly will get the early lead because he's going to win the early vote by 70 or 80,000. The rural areas will then start to come in, and it'll get very close. Maybe Braun goes into the lead. And for your viewers who want to stay up just a little bit later, part of Indiana is on the central time zone. We're one of the only states to have 2 time zones. That part of the state tends to be Democratic. When that comes in, that could make the difference for Joe Donnelly. So yeah, I would go with the Fox poll, close for Donnelly.
Okay. Governor Allen, you agree? Yes or no?
I don't agree because, I will defer to Evan. He certainly knows the Hoosier state. What I'm seeing is, especially amongst blue-collar manufacturing workers, if they make the campaign about the policies that have been enacted for the last several years on more competitive taxes, lower taxes, you're seeing, and less regulations and productive energy, you're seeing more jobs, more competitiveness for American workers and American businesses. And I think that people aren't going to want to go back to higher taxes, more regulations, or higher electricity bills. And I think the President Trump being involved so much, and obviously Vice President Pence, that Indiana will ultimately go for Braun.
Speaking of Vice President Pence, he was on Fox News with Martha McCallum last night, and he doubled down on his prediction, Governor Allen, that Republicans would hold the House, even in light of so much indication that they might not. I can already see Evan Bayh kind of like, yeah, right. But tell me, do you agree, or just look at the numbers and tell us what you think?
I think it would be a surprise if the Republicans hold, but I think they can. It depends on, obviously, Virginia is a big one. There's a lot of close races in Iowa, Pennsylvania, and other states. So I'll stick with the Vice President and say the Republicans win it on an extra point, and the Democrats doink the left upright, and the Republicans hold by 1.
Governor Bayh, give me your wild pitch prediction here on anything. You name it, anything.
The wild prediction? Well, I'd say if it happens to be a good Democratic night, the smart money would say the Republicans may pick up 1 seat, maybe 2. But if you do get a blue wave rolling and the Democrats hold Indiana and Missouri in particular and carry Nevada and Arizona, my wild prediction, Liz, would be look at Mississippi, because if neither candidate gets 50%, control of the Senate will be decided in early December in a special runoff in Mississippi.
He's already pushing it forward. It's so good to see both of you, former senators and governors, Evan Bayh and George Allen. I'm excited to see how it all turns out, guys. Thank you very much.
Hopefully they'll keep things going.
Yeah,
Be well.
hopefully. Hey, it's America. We're always going to keep going.
We want growth and keep it going.